Hi, this is the Democratic Alliance Labour Report. Thank you for tuning in. It's Friday the 19th of May 2023. I appreciate this, and if you enjoy this, please share it with friends and send it on to your colleagues. We're going to discuss a couple of things today. It's been a rather interesting week. Those who have been following South African labour legislation and the doings, it is an interesting week. We're going to discuss issues such as millionaire managers in the civil service. We're going to discuss the job losses that we've just seen, the latest survey that's come out. Once again, Western Province has done the best as a province. There's been the regulations that are being debated, and there's effectively a ban on coloured and Indian workers in certain provinces. We'll discuss that. There's been an agreement, a 3-year agreement with the civil servants, and a 20-year agreement is being mooted to sign up coal power ships to provide power to the country. And I just want to discuss that shortly as to how that's going to affect future governments. And then the Democratic Alliance now in the Parliament has just launched an attack on the Minister of Basic Education to say that the schooling is not fit for purpose. And I want to discuss that as well. So thank you for tuning in. And as I said, it's Friday the 19th of May 23. I'm the Democratic Alliance MP, Labour spokesperson, Michael Bagrain. Let's go back to the millionaire managers. In the civil service, managers in the civil service are well paid, in excess of R1 million per annum. So they're paid very well, and they have jobs that are senior jobs. Now, what has come to light, strange as it may seem, is that many of these managers, thousands of these managers, have taken on other jobs. In other words, they're moonlighting. They have a side hustle, to coin a phrase. And in the civil service, if you want to have this side hustle, you're supposed to get permission from the civil service, from your senior management, to be able to allow you to go and do an extra job. Now, you've got to bear in mind that our civil service in South Africa today is dysfunctional. The public aren't being served. It shouldn't be known as a civil service. It should be known as an uncivil service. The managers are doing very little, and that probably gives them the ability to go and do another job. Possibly some of these people have got taken on full-time jobs. We don't know. What we do know is about 50% of them haven't even applied for permission to go and do these other jobs. Now, if this happened in the private sector, there would be disciplinary inquiries and people would be dismissed. Now, we have heard about a few disciplinary hearings. A few people have been taken. We haven't heard of anyone being dismissed. But it's actually absolutely ridiculous to hear that our senior managers in the civil service, earning over R1 million a year, have taken it upon themselves to find other jobs to supplement their income. It's not like it needs supplementing, but they've decided to do that. And of course, this is being challenged by the Democratic Alliance. We've asked for a full outline of what actually is going on, who's actually doing some work in the civil service. And anyone listening out there to this podcast will agree with me. There's very little service happening out of the civil service. So let's watch that space. We're looking for some answers, and we're hoping to hear from the minister concerned. Now, we've had the latest survey, and there are more job losses. And again, this quarter is a bad one. We're going downhill quite fast. But the interesting thing that's come out of this again is that the Western Province is still the lowest of the unemployment across the provinces. So the Western Province is creating jobs, and it's probably because, and I'm sure in my heart it is, but it's probably because the Western Province is business friendly and trying the utmost to ensure that red tape is taken away. So again, well done to Minister Winde and his team, Premier Winde and his team, and to the whole MACO team in the council with Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis. Well done to them. They've been good with regard to job losses that aren't so bad here in the Western Province. Now, we have spoken before about the Employment Equity Amendment Act and about the suggested regulations from the Minister of Employment and Labour. The Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nxesi, who is a communist, wants more and more control over the business community. And what he's done now, and part of his targets, has now been analysed by the Democratic Alliance, and we've shown how in certain places, in certain industries, you won't be able to employ coloured or Indian labour. No employees. I mean, when you've got 0% as part of your plan, as part of your target, which you have to hit, it's ridiculous. When you've got 0% coloured and Indian labour, it means that if you're coloured or Indian, don't even bother to apply. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. This is social engineering at its worst. The worst excesses of the apartheid government didn't reflect it as bad as this. So you can see what's going on over here, in that the employment equity legislation is now being used somehow as a tool to punish the business community, but at the same time, it's punishing the workers of South Africa. The Democratic Alliance is not going to take this. We are challenging it. We'll have to go to the Constitutional Court if it doesn't get changed, but there we have it. So the outcry has been from the coloured and Indian community saying, why again are we suffering? We suffered under apartheid, we're now suffering under the so-called democratic regime. It's terrible. Now, one thing I do want to say is that every time this government is now making a decision, it's with an eye on the elections that are coming up next year, 2024. We think it'll be around about June, but no one's announced any dates yet for the elections. Now, the ANC is suffering very badly. They're suffering in particular from the collapse of the parastatals. Most of the government institutions are collapsing, in particular Eskom. But we're seeing it with the railways, with the TV, with the radio. Just about everything government is supposed to run is collapsing. And so they're desperately trying to patch wherever they can patch. And when the civil servants say they're going to go on strike, and they need the vote of the civil servants and of the trade unions, they then agree to a 3-year increase. What does this do? It means that if the ANC loses power next year, the next government has got 2 years of those unaffordable and unobtainable increases to the staff. It's like saying, here we are, have a hunchback. And they're giving it to the new government and say, that's your problem now, not ours. Well, they're doing that as well. I've been watching very carefully with them trying to patch up Eskom. And the only way they can look at ways and means of getting in extra power into the grid is obviously by this car power ships. In other words, ships that come and off the harbour, come and supply electricity from off a ship, off board a ship. The problem is that these car power ships, which is the name of the company that has proposed to come and do this, and they've seemed to have approved it, the government, is that you have to sign an agreement for 20 years. What does that do? That hobbles governments for the next 20 years. Now, there must be other ways and means. I'm not an expert in the electrical sphere. We have a shadow ministry from the Democratic Alliance that are working on it day and night, and they're coming up with some superb suggestions and solutions. But to go and sign a 20-year agreement, which is unaffordable, is what they're really saying is, if we're not here, let a future government collapse because of that. And it's nasty, it's scorched earth policy, and absolutely typical. Now, finally, I just want to have a look at the schooling. And I've been saying this for years, that the schooling in South Africa is not fit for purpose. That the graduates out of the schools and out of some of the university courses are not taking courses that will be needed in the economy. So people coming out of school, out of university, out of Technikon, out of the colleges, can't find jobs because they don't have the proper education. Well, in Parliament, the Democratic Alliance, our shadow minister, DA MP Bax Nadoda. Now, Bax attacked the Minister of Education by saying that the schooling system is not fit for purpose at all. In fact, he made the statement, which I often make myself, but I need to applaud MP Baxnadoda for, and he said, "I'm feeling like Alice in Wonderland." And I finish off on that, and well done to Bax, because the minister couldn't answer him. So thank you for listening to me. It's Michael Bagraim, DAMP, Friday the 19th of May, 2023. Thank you.